All right, so who asked for it? All right. So I got show and tell of a few radioactive. Oh, there's Regis on there. It's out of control. All right. And we'll hope that the clicker works there, too. I contacted the clicker people, and the first advice was to install the newest version of the software. And I did that Tuesday afternoon, and that gave other error messages. So then we figured out that the database needed to be repaired. So, all right, so first thing I brought in is a smoke detector. And the smoke detector, I'll also hold it up there. That's right, the mouse is not plugged in. So I brought in this lovely kitty smoke detector. Ionization smoke alarm model 0915, 9-volt battery powered, blah, blah, blah. This device contains 0.9 microcuries of americium-241, a radioactive material, and is distributed under U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission permit, blah, 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 blah. A little bit of radioactivity in there. And there is no 9-volt battery in there because we're not going to worry about detecting smoke with it. And it says to replace in 10 years. Not that that's a half-life concern necessarily, but the other electronics also, decay over time. Everything, the plastic becomes brittle. Replace in 10 years isn't so much a half-life concern for the 400 and some year half-life of the americium. And this was manufactured August 31st of 02. So this could be the last appearance in class of this thing. Nah, probably not. We're not using it for anything. Okay, I got a radiation monitor here, and every now and then we may hear a little beep from the thing. Am I radioactive? Let me get it near something else I know. Oh, there was a beep. Okay, so it makes a little chirp. If something radioactive goes in the window, not much going on, right? Am I radioactive? Evidently. Didn't eat a banana. There's some natural background radiation in the environment. So it could be sensing a gamma ray, an alpha particle, a beta particle. Every now and then a little chirp. So nothing outrageous nearby here in the environment probably. All right. Anything in there? Anywhere that we can sense? I'm not getting much of a signal from that anywhere. There's not that much more radioactivity coming out of this thing than background, especially because it's in a chamber. The radioactive stuff is in a chamber and is enclosed eventually, right? Air can get in, but it's not open to the air totally. So, all right, so that's not terribly exciting. I'm trying to use the mouse, which doesn't connect to anything at the moment. Yeah, the internal versus external exposure thing about compounds that might have stuff. Let's see. Here's a lid here from a Fiestaware. Fiestaware, you can buy the Fiestaware in certain department stores. All the various stores sell it. Dillard's and Kaufman's sell Macy's sell Fiestaware. Lots of other stores sell. I think Walmart has it. They give it away on The Price is Right from time to time. They've an outlet store in Newell, West Virginia, the little tip of West Virginia that sticks up between Ohio and PA, where they have a factory store. You can get seconds of things that are perfectly fine to use. But this is an orange Fiestaware lid that Dr. Richter bought back when, before she retired last year. She retired almost a year ago. She likes to go to the antique stores a lot, including the ones on West Market Street, going up the hill. And she saw this and was hoping it was old enough to be radioactive. The old orange Fiestaware was orange because of the color of a uranium compound. The uranium compound is orange and was in the glaze. Modern orange Fiestaware does not use this because that imparts a certain amount of radioactivity to the pottery. And so shall I try? Especially where the chip is. There's a little chip here. Shall I try the monitor on the thing and see? fairly hot. It's pretty hot, especially where that chip is there. So you could cook your food and eat it too if that thing's hot. They use hot as an adjective for things that are radioactive. So fairly radioactive. Not a big deal as long as you don't ingest a piece of the pottery accidentally. If you got a little piece of this that wasn't sharp enough to notice in your mouth and you ingested it, you'd have some radioactivity inside you. So that's pretty exciting. Dr. Richter was very excited when she brought that in and we got out the radiation monitor. Bought this at an antique store on West Market Street a few years ago. Sounds like the old CBS News bulletin before Douglas Edwards comes on. All right. Let's see. Somewhere I had, keep using that mouse even though it don't work. Somewhere I had tritium. I don't remember. Oh, yeah. We were doing half-life. Mentioned tritium, 12.5-year half-life. This one's unfortunately very hard to see. It used to be that you could dim all of the lights in the room out except for the red exit signs. And the new wiring or whatever, you cannot turn off everything. You can turn off almost all the lights, but not quite everything. There's one. Yeah, there's 3, there's 8 of them that stay on. That's as dark as it'll get. So unfortunately, we won't be able to see this probably. But if I go way in the back room and you're sitting in just the right place, you might be able to see it. But these exit signs here, the sounds, I guess we can hear okay. These exit signs that you might see that have these little tubes inside them have tritium in them. And the tritium gives off energy, including some visible wavelengths of light, sort of a greenish color, so they appear to glow in the dark. So the tritium exit sign glows in the dark, doesn't require wiring. I don't know why we have so many. Oh, are we missing one? Hope not. That would be terrible if we were missing one. Oh, here's one that we didn't put the plastic outline of the letters in yet. But there's the yellow label there for the radioactivity information. It's also on the outside of the case. These are common in lots of places. Many places where it's hard to get wiring in or inconvenient to, including the parking deck across the street, across Carroll Street. The parking deck there has some of these. Who knows if they are too old to be useful. Like the other thing, it says on here the manufacturing date, and it recommends to replace this thing within a certain amount of time. It's usually about 10 years because that's almost a half-life of the tritium. So if we could darken this in here enough, we could see this glowing. I tried to take a picture with the crappy camera phone, the camera on my cell phone, and it wasn't picking up anything. It was too dark. Need a really good. And I tried with other cameras too, and it's just hard. You got to hold it real still because it's so dark. It wants to hold the shutter open a long time. If you're in just the right place, and I stand far enough back, can anybody see it sort of glowing? Yeah. So you're lucky you sat there. If I put it way over here, anybody see that? There's a door. It's glowing a little bit. I can leave that in there at the end or something if people want to see it glow. If I do this right, I can have it fall on the floor, break, and that's what we don't want to do. The radiation in there is relatively contained. We could try testing this thing. Anything going on here? It's pretty much contained in the case of that. Now, if you were to take this thing and smash it open and break the tubes with the tritium, there would be some radioactive tritium in here. The good thing is it's a gas. Its decay product of helium-3 is also a gas, and that is radioactively stable. And you could solve the problem with ventilation. So you wouldn't have necessarily a huge cleanup thing. But in the time it takes to figure out that it's not a big deal, there'd be a lot more excitement. So, yeah, that's not too exciting radioactively. The last radioactive thing I got in there involves something with an M. in the symbol. This just looks dangerous, right? This thing has the tape on it there with the radioactive material symbol. And so I'll get this thing out here. This just looks exciting, right? It's got the little radioactivity three-cornered symbol on it and everything. Looks very exciting. And for the benefit of the viewers, there we go. They call this thing a cow as a nickname. It's an isotope generator, an ISO generator. They call it a cow because what you can do is on a cow, you milk the cow. You have the milk come out by sitting there with a bucket or something. Well, you can milk a radioactive isotope out of this thing. This is a ISO generator that contains cesium-137. Oh yeah, thank you. Cesium-137. I can see that it was on there. Yeah, I need to turn. That's why I was trying to darken the room in vain. Cesium-137, and the cesium is number 55. It's below sodium a couple of notches. And it decays to barium-137M. Barium is number 56 if you look on the periodic table. So the other decay product must be a beta particle, right? To balance that, we need a 0 and a -1. So the cesium-137 is a beta emitter, and it decays to barium-137M. And actually, the 137, I should write the M. And then the barium-137M decays to barium-137 by gamma ray emission. We talked about the M the other day. So this thing, you can separate them by a difference in charge. Like we mentioned with the technetium molybdenum thing. Cesium is in group 1A. It's an alkali metal, so it makes +1 charges. Barium is in group 2A, alkaline earth metal, +2. And in here, there's a syringe or something. We're not going to do it, but you can use this syringe. You undo the cap, and you can squeeze out, if you undo both of the things, you can squeeze out the barium-137M onto something and study the decay. Now, this is pretty hot. Hotter than the Fiestaware, right? I don't know if I should be holding it this close to me. I'm just holding it so I can get the microphone. I should have one of those long Dick Clark microphones that he'd wear on the Pyramid Show. Too bad about Dick Clark. I love the Pyramid. That's hot, huh? All right. Even at a relatively good distance, we're getting more beeps than background, right? Take that away. Not much. Set down. So even over a good distance, we're getting some beeps there. The radiation generally drops off with the square of the distance. So you don't have to get too far away for it to block radiation. All right, so how can you block the radiation? We'll try a few different things here. Oh, good, I got the big math book. All right. Block it with a folder full of nuclear chemistry lecture notes. No. Not really any difference there, huh? Block it with a 34, 50, 159 book, 149 book, right? Pre-calc book, nothing. Is the book radioactive now that the gamma rays are passing through it? No, the gamma rays are very penetrating. They pass right through. The gamma rays aren't making it. So the pre-calc book does not block the radiation very well either. How about lead foil? If we can get it out of the jar. Oh, there we go. Should really prepare better for what? What's that word? Prepare? Lead foil. I'll get a couple of thicknesses of lead foil. Not really. Not really detecting much difference there. Maybe a little, but not really much. Lead brick. Jeez. That works. Those are heavy. Those are heavy. But it takes something really dense like lead to block that radiation, that very penetrating gamma ray radiation. Boy, I hope we got that on there because I don't want to have to perform that again. No, good. All right. So, yeah, we're beeping again. So, when they shipped these things, it was hilarious. These came by was this a FedEx? Yeah, they shipped it FedEx ground and everything, and they were labeled not only as heavy. This was one of the wrappings around these. And they weren't shipped just like, I don't know why this. I guess this was in case it came out of the box and shipping. They had the label for heavy, and it shows. It's funny, it shows two guys lifting this here, but I don't think you need that many. But 30 pounds approximately for this brick, and it's the size of an ordinary brick. An ordinary sidewalk brick or something would weigh a lot less. They're also labeled as fragile, which I'm not as sure about, because I wish I'd saved the fragile label, because nobody believes me when I say that they shipped them with a fragile label. I think the toe that if you dropped it, it would land on is a lot more fragile than that. So if you like, later on at the end there, you're welcome to come up and feel how heavy, there's two of them, how heavy the lead bricks are, but don't take them off the table such that they would fall on a foot or something, because that would be a disaster. So no dropping them or anything, no showing off how strong you are. Hey, look what I can do with these lead bricks, and then you're writhing in pain or something. We don't need that. So even the lead foil doesn't stop the radiation all that well. So there's a few show and tell items of radioactive stuff that are fun. There's lots of other stuff out there in your world that's radioactive. That's some stuff that we have. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What about cell phones?
Cell phones, radiation from cell phone. I don't know if there's anything radioactive in the cell phones. The radiation that they talk about from things like that is more a function of the wavelengths of and the frequencies of the communication stuff. It emits at a certain. I don't know of anything radioactive in any large quantities. They'd have to label it. They'd theoretically have to include a label like the smoke detector somewhere. It could be in small print though. I mean, they don't tell you in. They don't notify. They're afraid they won't sell smoke detectors if they make it too obvious it's got anything radioactive in it, even though it's very low level. I haven't noticed anything in all the stuff I've read, like in my Android thing. I didn't notice anything about radioactivity in there. But it's more about, I think, the gigahertz frequencies of radiation that the things operate on, or include the frequency of. I don't think it's radioactivity per se, though. That's my understanding. I'll have to look into it again. It could be there's something in there that it's in very, very fine print buried in the manuals or something. But probably Carl Munday or somebody would have been on that by now if it were radioactive. And microwave ovens, the same kind of thing. People talk about nuking your food, and there's not necessarily anything radioactive in a microwave oven, even though people will say, I'm going to nuke my burrito or something, where there's nothing radioactive in it. You can hear the ocean if you listen to this thing. Oh, that's exciting. That's nice. I better turn this off. One time I left the battery. I left the thing on the rest of the class, and it killed the battery because it was so quiet. It didn't beep the rest of the class because it was blocked by the lead. So that thing just looks dangerous somehow, right? It would probably be a good idea to not keep any of these things like under your pillow or something. Probably be better to keep these things away if you can help it. So that's why we try to minimize the exposure, and that's a good guideline all the time. So any other questions I can deal with at the moment? We're going to start the ultimate chapter. This is the ultimate chapter. Congratulations, you've almost survived.